Yo, what it do, guys, and welcome back to another video. Now in today's video we're going to be taking a closer look at Nokko, which is our brand new 60-second Warframe that was just released with the Phallus Undermine update. Now Nokko is all about being a fun guy, as you can imagine. There's the pun right there, so let's go and get that out of the way really quickly. But yeah, just a really strong Warframe, so we're going to go and break down everything you need to go ahead and know. I'm going to go and put timestamps underneath, so feel free to go ahead and jump to the build if you already know this next part. But let's go ahead and start things off with their abilities and get you guys up to scratch if you don't know what to expect when playing this Warframe. So we're going to start off with Nokko's passive. Now, Nokko's passive is all about basically survivability. You can essentially go and get yourself back into the fight so long as you have mushrooms down. So let's go ahead and explain that one a little bit better right now. So if I have an enemy over here and the enemy's about to go and kill me naturally, like right now, I would just enter a bleed out state as per usual, right? That's basically what's going on there. However, what Nokko can go and do is, so long as you've got either your first or your second down, and keep in mind there are multiple of these that you can end up spawning, but we'll go and get to those in a moment. As long as you've got one mushroom down, at least one, you'll basically you can use this to trigger his passive. All right, so now what I'm going to go and do is just run up here. I'm going to go and let this enemy go and kill me. As I die, I become a Sprodlin. Now, I've got 10 seconds to basically go ahead and find a mushroom and go and revive. Now, during these 10 seconds, obviously, I've got very limited movement, but what I can go and get are these spores that you can go and see right here. It'll give me a burst of movement speeds. I can dash, and then I can go and collect this. As you can see, all my spores and all my mushrooms went ahead and disappeared. So if you set yourself up correctly, you'll end up basically just losing all of that stuff during it. Now, there are some other things I'll go and put on screen here. For example, the mushrooms, thankfully, if you go down and a mushroom has technically been cast before you've gone down, that mushroom's timer is paused, so you can always go and get back to your mushroom. You haven't got to worry about it. But again, if you don't have a mushroom, then you won't basically see that passive. You'll just go into a bleed out state and you need to go and get yourself back up as well. All right, you can go and cancel it a bit earlier, and I don't think there's much else to go and say there. That's basically about it. Just go ahead and pick up the spores, but we'll see the spores a little bit better when I get towards Nokko's third ability. But the passive, survival. Okay, so up next, we got Nokko's first ability, which is going to be called Stinkbrain. Weird word for it, but that's basically what we're going to be doing right here. So Stinkbrain is all going to be about debuffing enemies, mostly sleep, but more importantly, viral. So just go to remember that, all right? So let's go and show you what this looks like really quickly. So I'm going to go and spawn this corrupted gunner over here, and I'm going to go and throw the Stinkbrain towards them over here. Now, as you can go and see, it's put the enemy to sleep, and this is going to pulse. If you can go and see like the little radius pulse going out there, it's going to pulse every 3 seconds is what it's going to be doing. Any enemies caught within that are going to end up getting viral damage, which you can see the damage being there, 84, with guaranteed viral status chance. And again, they're going to be slept. All right, now you can have up to 4 of these, which is going to go ahead and build it is going to go and build that viral proc up a lot quicker, as you can go and see there, because we've got more of them going down. All right, but this is basically going to be Stink Spore. It's all about basically debuffing them. The sleep is good for crowd control and survivability, but most importantly, we want that viral. Viral's fantastic as a debuff towards enemies. And do go and keep in mind, again, viral's all about damage amplification. Hopefully I put some text on the screen here. This is very, very important to go and increase our damage against the enemy. Do go and keep in mind though, just such is whenever it comes to his first and his second ability, you can actually go ahead and make this pulse a little bit quicker. It pulses every 3 seconds. However, if you bounce on it, you can see how it's kind of like glowing a little bit there as well. This is also guaranteeing a pulse. So you can only have one person who can kind of do like a trampoline effect on it. So if I go and throw it here, you can see like what it normally pulses at. So every 3 seconds, we're going to go and get a pulse. That's not that much. But if I go and do this instead, and I look at them, 4 stacks, 5 stacks, you get the idea. So we're actually making it pulse a lot quicker. If you do go in ADS during it, you get this really nice long aim glides, as you can go and see there. So I can go and do that. It'll just send you up a little bit more and then go ahead and aim glide off of it. So do keep in mind, that's what you can go ahead and do with your mushrooms. Your first and your second work, both respectively, with the jump. So let's go ahead and jump towards the second ability, which is going to be called Brightbonnet. Now, Brightbonnet is all going to be about buffing. So the first is all about debuffing. This one's all about buffing. So this is going to go and give you energy, and it's also going to go and give you ability strength, which is really cool to go ahead and add that in. There's not many abilities out there that can go and increase ability strength for other Warframes. Nokko's going to fit into that mold where he is one of them that can also go ahead and do that. So as we can go ahead and do here, when you do initially throw it out, if you throw out here, for example, as you can see, it doesn't really do anything. But if I throw out towards an enemy or like through an enemy, I can kind of like do a little bit of damage and then stagger them. It won't do any more damage from there onwards though. So as you can go and see in the bottom right, if I go ahead and throw some of these away real quickly, you can see that I'm gaining some energy in the bottom right down there. So it's going to pulse out some energy, which is fantastic. And it's also going to go and give us ability strength. Now do go and keep in mind, and for those who might be a little bit fast on the ball here, exactly what I was thinking was, if I could throw one down and that gives me 30% ability strength, does that now mean that the next one I throw down has got 30% increased ability strength? Which means if I throw that one down, that'd be, and then that one down, and then you get the idea, and replace them? No. The ability strength bonuses do not apply to the second one that you throw down perpetually and inevitably. Okay, because otherwise I could just keep throwing more and more of them down and get more and more strength, which would be crazy, right? It'd be absolutely crazy. No. So you go and throw it down, it just gives you that 30% ability strength, which again can scale off ability strength. I think it caps at 150. I think it does. Don't quote me on that one, but I think it's somewhere around there where you can go and get a whole bunch of ability strength off of it. Now you can have a maximum of 2 of these down. If you try and throw another one, it's just going to replace the first one as per usual. And this is also the, it's got the same pulse rate, so it's going to be every 3 seconds, but you can also go and make it pulse a little bit quicker. This is something that if you're going to start a mission, I would throw this out. I don't know, would just start jumping on it. It's going to get energy straight away. So this way you don't need preparation. You don't need amber Archon Shards, so forth, which is kind of cool. So a really quick way to go and just build up your energy straight off of the rip. But this is also Nokko's subsumable ability. So yes, this can go over to other Warframes, but I believe they don't get 30% strength. I think they get like 20%. They get diminished returns on the strength side of things. I believe that's what they go ahead and get. So up next, we got Nokko's third ability, which is going to be called Reroot. Now, this is all about basic survivability yet again, and this is going to be more within that kind of fun, kind of charming, charismatic, sprodlin form, okay? Now, Caked Up Mushroom, I didn't stutter. Caked Up Mushroom was not on my bingo card for 2025. Here we are. Need I say more? Now, this is going to scale off duration, which means if I want to stay in this form longer, I'm going to want more and more duration. But when I tell you that is really just about it that you can do, that's just about it. There isn't a lot of things that affect this form. So for example, when I go into this, can I get bonus movement speed, jump, can I do Archon Shards, mods, anything? There's a list of stuff here. Do any of this stuff affect what I'm doing right now? On release and currently as I release this video, the answer to this should be no. I've tested an awful lot of this. Nothing's boosting them. Now, I did go and speak to D about this. Was this intended? The trade-off was that when you enter your third of Reroot, you are invincible, immune to status effects, and you're also invisible. So technically, nothing can target you, and you can't be targeted, and there's nothing anyone can do about it, all right? Which means that you are invisible. So yes, you'll see the whole crepuscular kind of arcane being thrown into a few things here, which we'll go and get to a little bit later. But do go and keep in mind, it's purely about survivability. So you'll go ahead and use your Reroot, go ahead and basically make yourself a lot smaller. You can go ahead and bounce on these as well whilst you're inside Reroot. So this is completely viable for you to go ahead and do, as you can go and see here. And yeah, you just go ahead and go around again. Caked Up Mushroom. Now it will go and give you overshield, so it will heal you. So it'll give you health, it'll give you shields, and then if you max out your shields, it'll give you overshields. That's definitely one of the better parts about it. It's giving you a whole bunch of overshields when you come out of it. But for the most part, I won't lie to you, it's a cool gimmicky ability, but there's not an awful lot it'll bring in form of combat. So if you're looking for like combat purposes, I'm going to say it now, and I'm going to get it out of the way early. This is the ability I would subsume off for your builds if you're looking to go and do combat purposes. But if you are looking to go and do spy missions and so forth, he can actually bypass lasers. He can not trigger cameras, all of this stuff. He's technically untargetable and invincible and invisible as well. So yeah, have fun with that at that expense. But one more time, yes, you can also go and see these spores go ahead and spawn. They'll normally be up to 3 of them. If you pick them up, they'll make you quicker. They can also make you dash quicker as well. But otherwise, you're limited to, I think it's a triple jump, and you're limited to dashing. Okay, cool. So anyways, that's going to basically be Reroot right there. Now, with the final one we've got is Sporespring. Now, Sporespring is phenomenal. I absolutely love this ability. It's an ability that basically plays itself. So the idea is you're going to end up throwing Sporespring out, and it's all about bouncing with like a homing projectile that will go and seek onto nearby enemies. But it can also go and bounce off your mushrooms and so forth. So without further ado, let's go and show you what this essentially looks like so that you can go ahead and get a visual representation rather than just me yapping. So if I go and throw it right now, and I'll just throw it this direction, you can go and see it will bounce, and then bounce, and then bounce, and then you see how it kind of hits the enemy. So when it's close enough, depending on how much range you've got on it, it will go ahead and seek enemies. Once it starts to seek the enemy, it essentially has, and from what I can tell as well, it essentially has like infinite punch through. So if it saw the enemy from like here, for example, and it started to seek the enemy, it would go through this arm and it would just go and hit the enemy, which is kind of cool, but it's something that we did go ahead and notice. Once it finds the enemy, it won't stop until it hits the enemy. So the whole idea about Sporespring is the more bounces it does, the stronger it becomes. For every bounce that it does go and do, it's up to 10 bounces maximum. You can have up to 3 Sporesprings going at the same time. Each bounce that a Sporespring does gets 1.5 times damage bonus to then the next bounce that it will go and do. It does guaranteed toxin damage with guaranteed toxin status effect, poison. And then it also gets 25%. So I think it innately, inherently has 75% critical chance, and every bounce that it does has 25% additive additional critical chance. So it can look really, really cool. So I'm just going to go and put a flow on my Nokko right now because I want you guys to go and see what this does go ahead and look like, but I need a bit more energy. Nokko doesn't have a lot of capacity energy pools, so flow is going to be really important for him. So I'm going to go and put this down here. I'm going to go and put that down there. I'm going to put one here. I'm going to put one there. I'm going to put one here and then one there. And then what I'm going to go and do is I'm going to use my 4, and then as you can go and see, there you go. So it's got an 8 meter AoE around it as well. So long as it's hitting these, it's also dealing damage. But look at the chunk of damage there. Now keep in mind, I was about to say, I'm not modded, but I do have Archon Shards on, but the damage is really, really good. And do also keep in mind that poison as a status effect bypasses enemy shields. So that's really, really good. And with a particular mod, we can also go ahead and strip their armor, but I'm going to show you that inside my build as well, all right? So this is all about basically throwing these out, trying to go ahead and keep this active. So we're going to throw these down as well. And then I'll go and throw 3 of those out to freeze. As you can see, that's the maximum amount that I can go and do. Now, something that you may go ahead and notice, although maybe it's a bit hard to go and notice it right now, is whenever Sporespring hits either a Brain Stink or a Brightbonnet, it now permanently reduces their pulse rate. So these normally pulse at an interval of 3 seconds. They now pulse at an interval of 1.5 seconds for the remaining duration of it until it dissipates. And then when I conjure a new one, it's going to be 3 seconds again. As you can go and see here, see how long that takes? If I go and do that, now look how quick it pulses. Pulse. Sorry, hang on. Okay, I was hoping it wouldn't just keep coming back to it, but anyways, it's going to pulse at a reduced threshold, which is so much better. So you see pulse there, pulse there, pulse there. If I go and put this one, look at the difference between the two. See that? So this one will permanently remain at a 1.5 seconds until its death, whereas new ones will need more Sporesprings put onto them. So there's a lot of synergy between the first, the second, and the fourth going on here, all right? It's just the third that doesn't really typically synergize an awful lot with what's kind of going on. Just keep that in mind. So now that we've explained all of that, sorry, that was a lot to go ahead and go over. Let's go ahead and go in towards a Nokko build for you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on my Nokko build here. So let's go and click upgrade. So this is going to be my Nokko build. Let me go and explain what I'm doing and the main asset of what I'm going for. So idealistically, what I wanted to go and do was, once I heard that the 4th ability had Toxin and I heard that the 1st ability had Viral, it felt like it was a bit of a no-brainer that I was going to go for quite an offensive damage build centered around Toxin procs to go ahead and be amplified by viral damage amplification. Now, we also know that when it comes towards Toxin, there's certain values that Toxin scales off. So I'm going to go put these values on screen here really quickly. Toxin itself scales off Toxin mods, so Toxin damage in general. It scales off faction damage, and it scales off status damage as well. Now, these extra values here are going to go to make Toxin procs do a lot more damage. Now, we can actually go ahead and get quite a few of those. We won't be able to go and get the status damage, unfortunately, because that's not really what we can work with here, but we can go ahead and just get damage increase towards Toxin, and we can go and get faction damage. So, due to how we had a little look at Reroot, it kind of made sense for us to go and take Reroot off of the build and subsume in Rhino's Roar. I know Rhino's Roar dominates a lot of builds, but when it comes to dot builds, there isn't anything better. Rhino's Roar is multiplicative to on-hit damage, and it also multiplies again to dot damage, which basically means it fundamentally double dips. So it applies twice whenever you are doing dot damages. So therefore, again, no brainer that we're going to be using this one to increase our damage towards our builds. So Sporespring is going to be the main concept of the builds, and it's going to be quite a stationary build, which means what we want to go and do is defense missions, deceptions, survivals. I'm basically going to be playing around setting these two up. Then I'm going to be playing around using this for damage, and I'm going to be using this to buff, this to debuff enemies, this to buff myself, this is going to buff myself even further, this to go ahead and just capitalize and nuke everything. So when it comes to stat priority, I want to work on range. Why range? Well, range because all three of these primarily are going to scale off of range. This can go and reach enemies a lot further away, which is fantastic, and this has an AoE around it. So that radius there is 8 meters. It's now 21 meters. 21 meters of an AoE Toxin dot is a lot of damage to go ahead and take into account. So this is fantastic. Range for me, I think you get more fun out of the build due to that overall quality of life, making it a bigger burst build. Now, the second thing that is genuinely really important, and I would actually go ahead and argue my build doesn't have enough of, is duration. Since you're going to be throwing these down, there's nothing worse than you throwing them down and then feeling like you need to throw them down again only within like 30 seconds later. My advice to you is you can actually get more duration on this build within the Archon Shards. We'll get to that a little bit later, but I would definitely heavily prioritize more duration on the build for more quality of life. So if you are thinking, well, okay, well, what can I go and do here? If you want to, you can go and take things like overextended and even like precision intensify out or whatever, and try and go ahead and bring more duration into the build so that you don't have to rotate as often. Believe me, you will feel the difference, and you'll probably enjoy it more because your setup lasts longer. All right, believe me, he's got damage. You don't need to see a tremendous amount of damage into him. It's just that for me, I like high damage numbers, so it makes my brain go happy. But for you guys, I'd recommend range and duration, and believe me, Toxin will take care of the rest, all right? So that's basically what I'm going for in terms of statistics here. That's what you can see range into duration in towards strength, okay? Now, from there onwards, efficiency we can keep nice and low. Sorry, give me a second. Right, sorry about that. I just had to go and answer the front door, so I'll cut that part out. Anyways, so what we can go and do here is we can go ahead and lower our efficiency. We can go and do that by putting in one of the biggest strength mods into the build. So that's going to give us more damage, more buffs, more debuffs, so forth, all of this good stuff. But yes, it does go to knock our efficiency. That shouldn't be a problem though, because do remember, Brightbonnet does go ahead and give us radial pulses of energy. And if we just jump up and down on it, we can go and get energy back even quicker. So energy shouldn't be that much of an issue, especially if you're getting more energy scaling off your strength, which again, you can have up to 2 of these down. So that's like 40 energy per pulse, or sorry, it's 20 energy per pulse, but I've got 2 of them down. And if we get more and more strength into the builds, like more augmented and so forth, we can go and get even more energy. Believe me, you shouldn't have a problem with energy, okay? So Blind Rage is actually really, really useful for him. Now, do go and keep in mind, I would absolutely whack a Prime Flow in here. He has one of the lowest overall energy pools by base. It's like 180, which is really, really, really low. So let's go and put a Prime Flow in there. Let's go and put Blind Rage in there. That's all sorted. From there onwards, because I'm going off viral debuff amplification, and I'm going off faction damage from raw, and then I'm using toxin damage here, if I actually go and use Archon continuity, not only does it give me ability duration, but it also says any ability that inflicts toxin status will also apply a corrosive status effect as well, which is also really cool because it also just means I can lower enemies' armor by just also applying corrosive for free in the background, which again is absolutely fantastic. Even if it wasn't for me, it could also be for my allies. So I can also go ahead and slot this mod straight in here, which is so synergistic with the build that I absolutely adore it. Now, this is going to be all my strength mods going, all my range mods going across here. We got stretch, we got reach, and we got overextended. Do keep in mind, this does hurt your ability strength, but you should be okay. You don't have to use this mod. If you just use these two, you're fine. It just depends on your tile set. So you can always go and drop that one out. If you want to, you could also go ahead and consider, but that does hurt your range. You can consider narrow-minded, which is giving you a lot more ability duration. Then we got things like Precision Intensify, which is 90% ability strength for your 4th ability. I really want a lot of damage coming off of my 4th ability, hence why I'm going to go for Precision here. If you don't want to run Precision Intensify, you can go ahead and run an Umbra Intensify, because this is also going to go ahead and give you just more overall strength and energy pulses from Brightbonnet. So you can't really go wrong by doing that. This is completely fine. This is still going to go and get damage, but these two are also going to be buffed, and even your faction damage is also going to be buffed as well, all right? So if you want to go and do that, you can do. Now, what I do go and have on my build is two minor kind of forms of survivability. Number one, I've got Brief Respite. Brief Respite always works really well whenever I'm using Warframes that have shields, but also I typically run Blind Rage with. See, Blind Rage lowers my efficiency. Let's read this. Brief Respite on ability cast. Squad converts 150% of energy spent to shields. Okay, now this is absolutely fantastic. This just basically means, so long as I'm casting abilities, I'm also getting shields back, but it's 150% of my energy, which means if my abilities cost more, which they do, look, it should be 75 by base, but it's actually 116. So because it costs more due to me hurting my efficiency because of Blind Rage, it means that I get more value per cast for this mods. So this into this with this little trifecta here goes really, really well, and that's going to synergize with all of the energy I keep getting back. So as long as I can keep my energy up, I can keep my survival up, all right? If not, I can always fall back to my passive. From there onwards, I think Prime Sure-Footed is okay. I don't think it's a necessity. It's more like you're going to kill lots of enemies and then you're going to go collect your loot. During that time that you're collecting your loot, you don't really want to be knocked down or thrown about or whatever, because again, you are still relatively vulnerable. But if you don't want to go and run this, you don't have to. You can go ahead and run either, in my opinion, Cunning Drift, which is going to give you even more range, but it's not that much. But I would recommend Power Drift is where I would go over this one. So it's going to give you a little bit of extra ability strength, and it still gives you a chance to resist knockdown. This is also a chance to resist knockdown, but it's 100%. This is 30%. So you can go with the odds if you want to and just chuck that in there. There's nothing wrong with that. You can go ahead and keep it like that. The only other mod that I would maybe consider putting in there is maybe something like Preparation, but you don't have to, because again, he's going to be able to go and sort himself out with his energy pulses on Brightbonnet, all right? Now, Rolling Guard is just a bit of a backup again. Like I said, it's kind of these two. They're just like a little bit of backup quality of lives, or these three. They're like my only other forms of survival. But again, as long as I've got my 1 and 2 down, I really don't mind dying. It doesn't really typically bother me. I'll just go into my passive. I'll just go and collect one of the mushrooms. I lose all my mushrooms, so I've got to go and rebuild. At that point, I'll just sort myself back up, and then I'm off to, and I'm good to go. But again, it's your call. Do not feel like this is a necessity and this is not a necessity. Feel free to put in whatever you want to over those ones. If you want more duration, put more duration in. Highly recommended, and you're going to have enough damage as a whole, right? Now, the Arcanes. As for the Arcanes, I've got Molt Augmented. This is kind of self-explanatory. I'm going for a damage build, and most of my abilities here, if not basically every single one of my abilities here, scale off strength. So because I'm going to be holding up in defense missions, deception, survival, so forth, a lot of endurance missions where I'm looking to kill, Molt Augmented with its scale and strength, 250 kills gives me 60% ability strength. Overall, that's a lot of spare ability strength. That's going to crack that up to 199% ability strength for my builds. It's just a free kind of, hey, off you go, whatsy doozy. This also removes the negation of the 60% ability strength here. So I'm actually just technically rolling the bottom line out here and just getting 90% free ability strength. All right, so this kind of counteracts that deficit. Now, the other thing that you do go and have in here is Arcane Crepuscular. So Arcane Crepuscular is absolutely going to work on Nokko for 2 reasons. Number one, keep in mind that this does have inherent crit. There's not a lot of abilities in the game that do actually have inherent crit. Well, Sporespring's one of them, and it gets more and more crit tier the more that it goes ahead and bounces. Arcane Crepuscular is final critical damage. So it's absolute critical is what it is towards the end of your critical damage. I believe this is a 2 times flat. So this is going to be an added 3 times to that 2 times flat. All right. So this is going to be really, really nice. This is also going to synergize with Tenacious Bonds, which we'll get to in a moment, but it does go and stay whilst invisible. You gain 30% ability strength, which again, ability strength is going to be good for us because that's what we want. But the question is, how do we get invisible? So there's 2 ways to go ahead and do this. Number one, you can actually go ahead and use Reroot. Reroot is coded as you being invisible. So if you want to go and use Reroot for your visibility, you can do, but I kind of find that a bit disruptive. Plus, I also lose Raw, which is that double dipping multiplicative damage. If you don't want the Raw, you don't have to take it. Don't worry about it. So if you do want to go and try to Reroot here, it's just a little bit more for you to macro on your input. And I would highly recommend that if you do go and keep Reroot, please go a lot more duration for your timers. My goodness, it's such a night and day difference. So if you go into Reroot, you do become invisible, which means this procs. So the idea is you would throw these out and then you would go into Reroot. But again, that's macro and I don't really like that right here because I want to try and be lazy and still get this. So how do I get this? This is where our companion comes into the fray. So we're going to be using the Horus Kubro. Now, you can also use Shade Sentinel. The reason why I use Horus over Shades is because the Kubros can get these mods, whereas Sentinels cannot get these mods. You see, these mods say 18% chance that you double resource pickups, which is going to be very good if you're looking to, again, be in longevity endurance missions, which is exactly what we're looking to do here with Nokko with this build primarily. So I basically want to go ahead and use this over Shades. Sentinels don't give me these mods, therefore there's more of a priority for it. Now, Shade and Horus both do the same thing here with their individual mods. Basically, they cloak their users as long as their users don't use weapons and shoot or melees and hit. If you use what am I trying to say? If you use abilities, you won't break stealth. So this basically means this sorts all my survivability. So yeah, you can see when I rolling guard, prime short foot and stuff, I can loosen that if I want to, or if I've got Reroot, I can just use Reroot and I don't have to worry about prime short foot or reroll or anything else like that. You get the idea. But anyways, this one's going to work really, really well with what I'm doing. And I can also go and throw in the Mecha recharge as well, where Companion marks the target for every 6 seconds for 3 seconds. Killing the target applies the status effects to all other enemies in 7.5 meters. It'll be viral, it'll be corrosive, and it'll be toxin. That's what's going on to my build right now. Lots of debuffs towards their armor and their health, lots of overall damage that can either bypass shields or just go and do a whole bunch of explosive damage to their health anyways, which is poison, toxin there, okay? Now, if you want to, again, you can go and throw more mecha mods into the build. So you can actually make this scale up to, I think it's like 60 meters, is it by max? Oh no, 30 meters, 45? I think it's 45, I can't remember. But you can go and scale this up as well if you want to, all right? If you want to. But we are going to be chucking that in there, okay? Now, the other thing that I do also want, these two are not really important. We can kind of ignore these two. I just didn't have anything else going slot in here, so I tend to just go and throw those in on the off chance that I might want them. But this doesn't synergize with this, so just keep that in mind. Anyways, Tenacious Bonds. Remember how I said Crepuscular gives you a +3 additive? This gives you a +1.2 additive. So I've actually got a +4.2 additive critical damage towards my build there. So I'm going to actually be using that. Now, in order for me to go and proc Tenacious Bonds, I do need my companion to have over 50% critical chance. That's why we're going to use Bite in here, giving us 330% critical chance on the 20% base there that we do go and have, all right? Now, I'm going to be using Elusive because I don't really want my companion attacking. I just wanted to go and turn me invisible and chill out. That's all I needed to go ahead and do, all right? Which means putting this mod here is the most important part to go and put it in. When companions have their mods, and whenever it comes to like preset mods and like mods that have abilities, always make sure, because this is how it works, make sure the main mod that you want is in the top left. So top left to top right, to bottom left to bottom right, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Put it in slot 1. This is where the companion will basically go through the mods in order, and it will select which mod to go and do. So this is why this one's here, okay? So that's very important. So let me go ahead and show you just real quickly a bit of a demo here. let me go and show you really quickly. I've just seen that there's a whole bunch of red text going on right now with Nokko. Hopefully none of this is gonna affect the video, because I'm just gonna keep going. But if anything, he might have got buffed, I don't know, or fixed, I don't know. Anyways, let's go ahead and walk up. This is what the live demo of this looks like right now. So as I walk towards the enemies, I'm now gonna be invisible. All I'm gonna go and do is make sure I've got a Brightbonnet out. It's going to give me energy and to also go and give me ability strength. Then what I'm gonna go and do is throw a couple of these out here. So I'm gonna go and throw 4 of those bad boys out. We're gonna go and build up all of that viral on the go. Now, if I need more energy back, I'm going to put two of those down. I'm gonna go and press raw for the overall damage, and then let's go and throw it here just so you can go and get the therapeutic hit, bounce, and they're all dead. All right, and again, do go and keep in mind that it's going to go and do viral from the Brightbonnet. It's going to go and do faction damage from the raw. We got toxin coming over there. We got the Archon continuity to go and get the armor strip. It's going to absolutely obliterate enemies, which is fantastic. Let's go ahead and up the enemies that we're going against. We'll go against these Eximus instead. As you can go and see here, I'm going to throw one of those off. That's going to go and hit the enemies. I'm just going to put one on for now so you can see what it looks like. Pretty decent damage, right? And that's going to end up doing more and more damage as well as it continues to go and build up. And I can throw 3 of those out, and that was just 1. Okay, so overall damage looking really, really crispy, okay? Now, please go and keep in mind, I do have Archon Shards on my build, and the Archon Shards are going to be as follows. I'm going to be running 1 casting speed because there is a lot of casting going on in this build. It is a very, very heavy cast build, not really paying attention to weapons. I don't really care about weapons so much, but abilities, it's all about abilities. So 1 casting speed, I think, is thumbs up from me. I will take a Tau Forge if I could go and slot that in. From there onwards, and this is what I'm going to go and say, I would recommend, that's not 4 Crimsons for ability duration. It should give you 30-60% ability duration. It would make your rotations stay alive longer, which is more enjoyable for you. However, if you like damage numbers like me, I've gone with the Telforged Emeralds instead. Toxin status effect, still 45% more damage, 90, 180% more damage on top of everything. So I've got the faction damage, I've got the fire amplification, I've got the Archon continuity, and I've even got these all on the go to really just annihilate those enemies. I don't want to see them breathing, moving, or living, all right? They're gone. And that's going to be like what I want to do with my Nokko in terms of being like a bit offensive as well. Now, there are other things you can go and do with things like a Grimoire. You can essentially use the foam invocation if you want to, but do go and keep in mind this doesn't always synergize with the build. So yes, it gives you 60% ability strength, but it will go and break your invisibility if you do go ahead and use that cloak for the crepuscular, the arcane crepuscular. So go and keep that in mind as well, all right? Not the best in terms of synergistic, so forth. But I do go and use the Praedos, and it's mostly for me collecting my loot. I like the Praedos for the parkour velocity. It basically means whenever I roll or bullet jump, I actually get 30% extra distance whenever I go ahead and do it. So this is why I basically go and use this as a bit of a passive. Now, in terms of the overall focus goals, I won't lie to you, you can kind of use whatever one you want to. If you do need to go and run Zenurik for energy problems, you shouldn't have any, but if you do need to, you can go and run Zenurik there. Otherwise, I'm just using the Madurai. Madurai mostly going to be for the power transfer, so and the sling strength. Basically means whenever I switch over towards my operator, I'll sling strength into the ground a couple of times. This will give me 40% ability strength, and then when I come back towards Nokko, I also go and get 50% casting speeds. So now I can go throw my 1 and 2 out and so forth, and then I can go and get extra bonuses with ability strength, which then give me even more bonuses, and off I go. And if I do happen to go ahead and die, or if I do go down and I need to go ahead and use Last Gasp because maybe my passive wasn't set up, then I do always go and get Void Strike, and Void Strike can also be used against Fax Warriors and so forth. Anything that has like an ethereal form, so basically Fax Warriors in like Lure, Conjunction Survival, or Cascades or so forth, then I can also go ahead and take them out with the Void Strike as well, all right? So that's basically what I'll be doing for the focus score. From there onwards, that's mostly about it. Let's go and get some gameplay up on the screen so you guys can go see what it looks like. But yeah, just an absolute savage. Nokko has no problem with damage dealing, that I can tell you for a fact right now. Absolutely brutal frame in terms of the damage that it's doing, and it feels really fun to go ahead and play as well. At least if you're a person who likes builds somewhat kind of playing themselves, then this is going to be pretty enjoyable for you. But watching the ball of the Sporespring projectile bounce around. That's probably the most enjoyable part of the build for me, just seeing big damage numbers because of that. I think I hit around like 50s, 60s, and even up to 70 mils with the build that I currently have at the moment, but only on specific enemies. Things like acolytes that go ahead and turn up can either be 1 to 2 shot depending on how much you built up your orb, your Sporespring. But again, you have very little control over that. It's all RNG as to where it bounces. But yes, I can absolutely obliterate an acolyte without them even doing anything to me, which is fantastic. That includes violence as well, because nothing worse than violence turning up trying to be like, yeah, I'm going to silence you, and then you just pop, you know. The mega bonk build right here, just absolutely goomba stomp them with the Sporespring. So overall, I do really like Nokko, and I think Nokko's looking really, really strong right now. I think he works again great. If you could see him as like Bastille, Flechette kind of Vauban, you could see him like Octavia, you could see him like, I don't know, Sephir Tornado. If you're a person that likes to hold your ground and let everything trickle into you, look no further. I think Nokko is going to Nokko's going to fit that role really, really, really well. Okay, lots of damage, and also still works really well supportive if you want to with just the Brightbonnet. Outside of that, his roaming potential is not overly that great, but we can go ahead and fix that with a few other means if we want to. It'll be very interesting to go and see if there's like any augments in the future that could help his roaming potential, because right now he's super, super stationary. It's kind of like playing Zaku around Zaku's gaze. You're very, very stationary because of like how it's set up. So, but overall, yes, great frame. I'm gonna go bring you guys back here. Great frame. I'm really enjoying Nokko. I think it's very well designed. I do have a bit of a problem with the third ability. I've been super vocal about it. I've already given all of my feedback to DE, and they're very appreciative that I do go ahead and do this stuff for them. I'd like to go and see a change in it, and hopefully it gets a little bit better. There was a hotfix this video. I swear to God, I'll just put it in the notes on screen if something changed, all right? But yeah, overall, really good. How are you guys finding Nokko? I hope you guys enjoy him. But as always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching today. If you did go and like this video, please go and leave a like. It means a lot to me, and it helps me out. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Share the video with a friend if you think someone else would enjoy it. But as always, I will see you guys again in the next video. Take it easy, guys. Bye-bye.